Hey YouTube, Justin Kobylka here. I'm starting a new segment called Pro Tips with Justin Kobylka, and this is a new segment that's going to just do little things that I use in my collection, little tricks and tips that you guys can take away and hopefully improve you as you take care of your animals. So tonight, in our first one, we're going to be talking about bedding, ball python bedding. And there are basically two different kinds that I use in my own collection, and the first one is aspen bedding. And it's just an example of the bag. It's a very finely shredded product that I enjoy and I like using. And I'm also going to show you here a tub of how I have a hatchling ball python set up with aspen bedding. This is a super pastel 100% het pied female, one of my holdbacks from 2009. And you see here the advantage of having a ball python on aspen bedding or on a shredded bedding at all is that if there's a mess in there, the python poops or pees, it's pretty much localized. You can see it and you can scoop it out to keep the tub looking pretty clean. And then you can change the entire substrate about once a month as soon as it starts looking dirty, kind of grungy overall. But this is great for the hatchlings. It makes it so they don't take too much time and effort aside from feeding them and spot cleaning once a week. It's a great substrate. The other substrate I use is a newspaper. And this doesn't look like newspaper because it's unprinted. It's just basically just the white paper and without the news. And you see I have it set up here. This is a sub-adult ball python, and I like to keep my sub-adults all the way up to adults on the newspaper. And the reason why is mostly for the adults. When I'm in the breeding process with them, it's real common for the male to get a piece of the substrate sucked up into the cloaca and give a hemipene abscess, which can basically take that male out of commission for the entire breeding season, or potentially threaten his life if the infection got very bad. But on the newspaper, it keeps things clean. I can change it out every week or whenever it starts looking bad, and there's no problem with substrate being pulled up into that during the breeding. So where do you get newspaper from? That seems like a silly question. You can get that from anywhere, but I like the unprinted newspaper, and the reason why I went with this instead of just keeping the newspapers that came every day to my house, I did it because the white snakes, things like albinos and piebalgs and leucistics, they tend to take on the color of the print after a while, especially if there's a water bowl spill or something. That ink kind of gets up into the skin of the snake, makes it look kind of grungy and dirty. And hey, if you have these really high-end snakes and stuff that looks really good, you want it to look its best all the time. So I'm going to show you where I get my newspaper from. I went down to my local newspaper office and asked them if they had any newspapers I could just take like big piles of newspaper every week. And they offered me an end roll. What this is a unprinted newspaper roll. And this actually starts out over 4 feet in diameter. And they print the paper on it every week. And then this is what's left. This is what comes down. The machine can't use this much of it. And so my local newspaper office gives me as many of these rolls as I want for free. Now that doesn't mean yours will. Yours might charge a little bit, but this is a great way to get good high quality paper that is unprinted. And so what I do with it is I'll just bring it back to the snake room here, and I'll show you guys how I basically this right down here is the size that I'm wanting to cut it down to. So essentially all I have to do is put a score in it, and cut it away. You just have to keep doing it over and over again. You start getting perfect pieces of paper here that are just the right size for your tubs. And of course the trick is not to cut yourself. But that's just enough here to give you a little example of how to cut unprinted newspaper to use for your snakes. And I also love to use this stuff for packing them when I'm shipping snakes, and that's going to be one of our next pro tips is how I pack up a snake, how I make sure it's nice and cushioned, how it stays warm through the trip, and everything it takes to get that snake there safe and sound to your door or to whoever the customer is. So, appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, be sure to comment below. Thanks.